She came to shop, but the cashier called her discount card fake just because of the color of her skin. The response she gave changed everything. What happened next will astonish even the most hardened. But let's start from the very beginning. Jade Morgan, 38, a black woman with short dark hair and defined facial features, walked into the store with an elegant stride. She was dressed in a sharp business suit, as always. Her company adhered strictly to the dress code, and as CEO, she was expected to lead by example. She approached the checkout counter to pay for her purchases, holding out her shiny loyalty card. Jade had always felt that being a woman in business, and a black woman at that, was particularly difficult. The card was easier to use than discussing the barriers she had to overcome to reach this position. When she reached the counter, several customers were already lined up behind her, and her turn was approaching. Sam, a young cashier with short blonde hair, looked at her with some surprise. He quickly took her card and started scanning it, but then his face shifted to one of displeasure. "This card is fake," he said, not even looking at her. "I doubt you can use it." Jade froze. Her stomach churned with indignation, but she didn't let it show on her face. Instead, she stepped back and looked at him with cold curiosity. "What did you say?" she asked, unable to hide a slight edge in her voice. "I need to check with management. You might not have understood, but this card looks suspicious," Sam said, not hurriedly glancing at her. His gestures were decisive, but there was clearly more disrespect than professionalism in them. Without a word, Jade pulled out her phone and began checking her messages, despite feeling the eyes of everyone in line turned towards her. The silence in the store suddenly became unbearable. Tension hung in the air as everyone waited to see how she would react, but she showed no emotion. Jade knew she needed to confront the moment without letting it break her. Sam went to the back office, but before leaving, he shot her a glance of slight contempt. He was certain that this woman didn't deserve the status she had. Jade stood there with a confident expression, knowing she would face this kind of situation more than once in her life, and yet she was ready for it. Thoughts raced through her mind. Right now he thinks he can push me away. Right now is when I need to show that I won't back down. A few minutes of tense silence later, Sam returned with the manager. Karen, a woman in her 50s, tall with a composed expression, quickly walked to the counter, holding a tablet to verify the data. She glanced at Jade, and something in her look suggested that she hadn't expected this particular person to be the subject of such attention. "Please show your card again," Karen said with a hint of unease in her voice. "We'll check it. Sorry for the misunderstanding, but such cards need to be verified," she continued, not lifting her eyes. Jade silently handed over the card, showing no irritation, but in her eyes was not just resentment, but determination. She was prepared not only to hear an apology, but to ensure that everyone present understood that this incident was not a coincidence, but the result of systemic bias. She knew she had to defend her dignity, and now the question wasn't whether there would be an apology, but what price they would pay for their biased treatment. Karen's gaze slid over the tablet screen, then she looked back at Jade. There was a flicker of doubt in her eyes. It seemed she had already realized that the situation could spiral out of control. "Is this your card, Jade?" Karen asked, but there was no certainty in her voice. It sounded more like a question than a statement. "Yes, it's my card, and this isn't the first time I've been checked for things like this," Jade replied calmly, her voice steady, though every word carried the hidden pain of similar incidents throughout her life. Karen fell silent for a moment, trying to find the right words. All she could say was, "Sorry for the inconvenience." But her voice lacked sincerity. Jade felt it. She knew that apologies were just a way to cover up negligence. There had been too many moments in her life where apologies meant nothing. She was doing everything she could to prove that this was not just an accident, and that she had the right to be there. "I'm sure it will be more convenient for you to take control of this situation, since, I'm the CEO of a major company," she said, not hiding her slight disdain for what was happening. At that moment, the silence in the store became almost palpable. Customers began noticing what was happening, and their eyes flicked between Jade and her interlocutors. The tension in the air only grew, but Jade remained calm, as though her words were simple facts and not a challenge. The moment Jade spoke those words, the silence in the store became unbearable. All eyes were now on her. Karen, realizing the situation was slipping out of control, hesitated for a moment. Jade knew the time had come. She wasn't going to let this incident go unnoticed. Jade slowly took out her phone and began recording a video. The camera on the screen turned on and she pointed it at herself. "This is Jade Morgan, CEO of Company X. This is how your store treats its customers. I'm just using my discount card and they're calling me a fraud," she said, drawing the attention of everyone standing nearby. Sam, standing next to Karen, clearly didn't expect such a turn of events. He became nervous, and his fingers nervously gripped the cash register. "What are you doing?" Sam asked, trying to hide his confusion. "I'm recording so everyone can see how easily you can suspect someone just because of their skin color," Jade replied, her voice firm and confident. At that moment, a black man, about 45 years old with a serious expression, stepped closer. "Look, this isn't the first time this is happening," he said. "We all see what's going on here. It's time for a change." His words immediately drew approval from the other customers, who began murmuring to each other. News spread around the store that Jade was not just a customer, but a CEO. This changed the atmosphere entirely. Another black woman began recording on her phone, and soon the situation became the talk of everyone. Karen, sensing she was losing control, tried to justify herself. "Sorry, this was a misunderstanding. We'll check the system." But Jade, unwilling to stop the fight at this point, responded, "I want more than just an apology. I want change. I want your employees to undergo training on racism and bias, and I will be watching." The situation became even more tense. People began discussing what was happening online, and soon Jade's video went viral. The next day, the internet exploded. The video of the incident spread across social media, catching the attention of the media and the public. Comments supporting Jade kept pouring in. Social media users began actively expressing their outrage at how the store and its employees had displayed racism. #BoycottStore became a trending topic on Twitter. The video was discussed on the news and even on TV. The case gained enormous resonance. 2 days later, Sam was fired. Karen submitted her resignation, understanding that her mistake had not only jeopardized her career, but also ruined the store's reputation. When the local black police lieutenant, who had read about the situation in the news, demanded an explanation, the store couldn't justify itself. "I'm grateful for your support," Jade said when she was invited to speak at a conference on equality and human rights. Now Jade had become a symbol of the fight against racism in consumer services. But more importantly, she showed everyone that silence is not an option. Even if you're a CEO, even if you're at the top, each of us faces injustice, and each one of us has the power to change this world.